Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are talking about two popular caching patterns, read through cache and write through cache. Whether you are looking to boost performance or simplify data reads and writes, understanding these strategies can really help you optimize your application. So let's dive in. As always, we start with the what question. So what is let me just yeah what is read through cache. Let's start with the read through cache. This is an example of read through cache. So a read through cache sits between your application and your data store. As you can see here, the cache is between the application and our database. Okay, and and basically it will read from the application. Let's understand how it works. First, the application will request when the app needs data, it will checks the cache first. So when the client try to request a data, the application will try to request to check the cache first. If the data is available in the cache, we call this a cache hit. If the data and the data is returned when the cache is when we find the cache hit when we got the data. But what happened when the data is not in the cache? We call this cache miss. If the data isn't there, the cache itself loads data from the database. Like when the cache doesn't have the data that the application requested, it will try to fetch it from the database. And after that, the database will return the data back if the data is actually in the database and present, and the cache will store the data the data will be stored in the cache for future uses, and after that it will be returned to the application and we got the response. So this approach is often called lazy loading because the cache only gets populated on a mess when the data is first needed. Okay, let's try to understand we use why use a read through cache. There are three things. First, simplicity, because application could simply access the cache, while the cache handles all the data store logic for you. Number two, performance boost, like once in the cache, frequently requested data can be served with minimal overhead. Number three, reduced database load. Repeated reads for the same items are handled by the cache, saving database resources. Read-through caches are especially popular for read-heavy scenarios and work best when data doesn't change too frequently. Okay, let's go to write-through cache. So in the write-through cache, every write is simultaneously applied to the cache and to the underlying data store. Okay, so first the application will write the data. The app writes data into the cache first. So that when the client want to write send like a write request to the application, it will be write to the cache first. Okay. After that, the cache will immediately write the same data to the database, and after that the write operation is only considered done when both writes are succeeded. So when the application try to send a write to the cache, okay, it will be written through the cache, and after that the cache will send another request to be written in the database as well. And when the write operations was success both in the database and the cache, when the database write success, it will send acknowledgement to the cache that the write was successful. And after that, when the cache stores the data as well, it will send the acknowledgement, but this acknowledgement means the data was written both in the cache and the database. And after that, data will be written, and basically this operation will be considered a successful one. This ensures the cache and the database remain in lockstep, preventing staleness right after a write. Okay, let's try to understand why to use this. Like, why should we use a write through cache? Okay, so first we have the first thing will be strong consistency. Like once a write is acknowledged, the cache and database share the same updated data, Number two, simplified invalidations. Like because a cache is instantly updated, you don't need complicated cache invalidation strategies after writes. Number three, ease of reads. Like future reads can trust the cache to have the latest data. This works well for applications need consistent data right after a write, but does introduce additional write latency because we have if you look at this scenario again, if you can see that we have double the operation because we write data through the cache and through the database. We write the data we have two writes happen simultaneously in the exact same time. So this could introduce like some latency. Okay, we need to make like some comparing between both strategies. So let me just put here. Okay, first let's talk about the caching approach. Read-through cache is populated on demand, which lazy load. Write-through cache is updated immediately on every write. In terms of data freshness, read-through cache potentially stale if the data changes in the database but not yet loaded into the cache. The write-through cache always up to date once a write is confirmed. In terms of the complexity and performance, read-through cache simpler read path but might need separate invalidations or sync logic or for writes. On the other hand, on the write-through cache, stronger consistency but can add overhead on write operations. Ultimately, if you have read-heavy workloads with fewer updates, a read-through cache approach is common. If you need a strict immediate consistency after writes, you might prefer a write-through cache. I guess we need to answer another question, which is when to use which. Okay, when to use which. Okay, so use read-through cache. One, if your app sees frequent reads and infrequent writes. Two, if slightly stale data is acceptable. Three, if you prefer a lazy loading mechanism to reduce initial cache fills. Okay. Okay, you use write-through cache in one if you require consistent cache data immediately after writes. Two, if you can handle the extra overhead of writing to cache and database at once. Three, if you want to avoid complicated invalidation logic. In reality, many systems use combination between both of them of these approaches, or even adopt write-through cache for certain scenarios. It all depends on your performance needs and data consistent requirements. Okay, so let's just go to our conclusion. Okay. That's the difference between read-through cache and write-through caches. If your application can tolerate a short delay in cache population, read-through cache offers simplicity. For strict freshness after writes. Write-through cache is the way to go. Just be prepared to handle the extra write latency. If you found this video or this overview helpful, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below which caching strategy you prefer. Until next time, happy caching.